Another team that one would assume will be looking for a coach at some point in the near future is Leicester, who of course lost 6-2 to Spurs, Nathan, over the weekend. Brendan Rodgers was fairly candid in his post-match interview about what his likely expectations are going forwards, and I did not read it yet, but I did see the promotion of a piece written by Michael Cox where he suggested that perhaps a departure would be the best thing for both parties. When you watched them be decimated by Son in the second half, does it just seem like it's over to you watching?
Leicester, I think, were pretty strong between sort of 30 and 60 minutes in that game, right? There's Rodgers, obviously, we can speak to his Swansea, his Liverpool, his Celtic. He is a good tactical coach. Leicester came with some interesting ideas towards that game, gave us significant issues with overloading our midfield and things like that. There's talent in that squad too. It's just that there's also big holes in that squad, and I think there is fatigue that you get with any coach in any team, pretty much, that it can't just carry on going downhill forever. I don't know if anyone's necessarily going to come in and do a much better job than Rodgers, other than save them from relegation kind of thing. There's talent in that squad that should be pushing for Europa League, and I just don't think that they're going to be around there because of the injuries and the lack of investment. I wonder even if they can afford to pay Rodgers out of his contract.
It sounds like a lot of money. I mean, John, Gary Lineker said on Match of the Day that, as Nathan indicated there, that he was, there were actually a number of positives to take from the game. But my thought was, if there's a number of positives to take and the team still concedes 6 goals, that does feel over.
It's worth saying that Son's first 2 were just incredible goals that, you concede
left and right. Yeah.
You concede one of those and you're like, well, what can you do? You concede 2 and you're just like, there's a God and he hates us, right? Sure. So I think it's worth keeping that in mind. But Rodgers has got into a position now where poor results are going to end up becoming calls for his sacking because of the wider context. So we can say, you have a good result or good performance, we should say, every once in a while, and I don't think it really does enough to keep the people at bay. But I think there's been this trajectory in Rodgers' career, right? I've got a lot of friends who are big Celtic fans, and obviously he was an incredible coach at Celtic, but they do tell me that, it started off so well and did become more stale, it became less fun. Yeah. And I wonder the extent to which, is what's happened with him at Leicester, right? You have a couple of really good seasons where he's motivating the squad to be in and around the Champions League spaces. But the drop-off this season has just been so vertiginous that it's hard to,
Well, they have 1 point after 7 games. I mean, they're dead bottom, 1 draw. That's bad.
Yeah, and so Michael Cox is right. What do you do in that situation? Yeah. The easiest thing to do is just change the manager, regardless of whether or not there's good reasons for keeping them.
I think that description of really good at the start and then crashing and burning pretty fast is an accurate description of what happened at Liverpool too, right? So there's a pretty strong track record there. 2-year contract only for Rodgers is the tip going forwards, I guess.
I wonder what it is. I wonder what happens.
The envelopes, isn't it?
What's the envelope?
It's the Being Liverpool documentary where he comes forward. He stole this from Fergie. I think I've got 3 names in these envelopes of 3 players who will let me down this season. Then the reveal at the end is that there were no names. That's sort of David Brent type nonsense. Maybe
that's what you did with us, but it was actually our name. Yeah. It was just everyone's name.
And I was proven right, and will be proven right again this season.
It motivated us, to be fair.
Motivated you.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.